kudos to all of you who have been faithfully attending. Okay, midterm review. Midterm will be online. You can take it anywhere, but you have a 3-hour limit once you start. Yes?
Are we going to record this?
Oh, it's still recording, by the way.
Still? Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I forgot to turn it off, so I'll have to cut out the roll. But I'll post this as 2 different videos. And I'll post these slides. Test will open at 5 after midnight on Monday the 23rd, and will close at 23:59 on Monday the 23rd. Open book, open notes, open device, put your own work. So, you know, you've got everything that you can use. Questions, and we'll show a sample question. We'll typically qualify citations from readings and or lectures. I usually have a question on life cycle deliverables. We'll see whether or not we do. Past tests, my standard format is 5 questions, each worth 25 points. So the test total is 125 points, which works out to 25% grade. That's how much the midterm costs. And that's what it says here. Any questions on any of these? Yes?
We're talking about citations.
Actually, it's 22.
So with citations, is that just like strict or just like this book, this page?
No, it's well. No, we'll talk about that. There'll be more examples on that. Yeah.
Okay, I don't think he covered this in the teacher class, but I was also going to ask if this is like written work. Are you expecting like essay type questions or more like paragraphs? Like how long are the responses?
I'll show you.
Okay.
I'll show you what the responses are. Yes.
Do we have class that day?
No class. So, first semester I taught, it was over in the Tanner building, and we had the tables with power outlets. So everyone just plugged in and did stuff there. This next semester I tested, I was going to have the midterm in class, and we were in the MARB, and there were like 6 power outlets. I thought, okay, we're not doing that again. So now there's no class that day, and you can do it anywhere. I have the time here because I've actually had semesters where I've had students traveling, like in Europe and so on, and wanted to take it. So I just say, okay, you've got 24 hours. Yes?
You say open device, is that internet?
Oh, yeah. The purpose of this midterm is not to test your memorization or anything like that. It's to test your ability, having gone through this class, having done the reading, having listened to me up here for all these weeks, to say, oh, here's a problem. Here's what I think it's referring to, and this is how I think I would fix it. Yes?
So that leads well into my question. Can we bump it up to 5 hours, 1 hour per question?
No. Sorry.
Worth a try.
Have the meeting 4 hours?
Nope. 3 hours. 3 hours is plenty of time. When I've given it actually in class, which I did for the first 2 semesters, my experience is that most people were done by the 2-hour mark. And by the 3-hour mark, there were usually just 1 or 2 people left who were still struggling. Which also reminds me, you know, you've heard this 100 times, but let me say it again. Test-taking 101. Answer the easy questions first. You can work back and forth. Most of these questions will ask you for 5 answers. Like, you know, here, what are 5 risks that you see here? We'll show an example question in a second. Not 5 different answers, but 5, you know, identify 5 things, like 3 risks, 2 mitigations, something like that. Pick the low-hanging fruit first. Don't get stuck. Go all the way through it, answer the stuff that you can answer very quickly without much thought, and then start going back and filling in the things. Testing 101 part 2, put something down. The only way you get 0 points on an answer is if it's literally there's nothing there. Put a wrong answer. You know, put your favorite line from your song or something. You'll get at least 1 point there. Sources, what we've read, the Man Month, Peopleware, Accelerate, 5 Orders of Ignorance, Webster readings, 1 through 8, 1 through 7, and feel free to use 8. Any in-class lectures, I'll talk about that in a second. Podcasts. Those are all sources you can use. Okay. And I will post these slides up, and you'll have access, of course, you'll have access to all the slides and all the lectures, so it's kind of slow trying to read lectures if you're time with it. Chapter 18 in Brooks, if you go and look at it, he basically provides a list of all the points he makes in the mythical man month. So it's a great cheat sheet. Go there and start looking through. Oh yes, this is a chapter where he talks about the surgical team. Oh, this is a chapter where he talks about conceptual unity. Table of contents for DeMarco and Lister. Appendix A of Accelerate is a great place to look at the things that they point out as capabilities to drive. Webster pitfalls. How many of you started reading 7? You've got a lot to do next week, so I hope you start reading soon. If you look at it, you'll find that it's got a lot of great answers right there. That's actually a good fallback. If you're struggling for an answer, go look at Webster 7 and look at all the pitfalls and say, oh, that sounds like that applies. The online readings list, which is where you actually get to all the readings, all the Webster readings, all the lecture slides, and your own notes. I've tried to make this so you actually don't even have to take a lot of physical notes for the class. I want you focused on listening to this, on discussing, which is why I run the class the way I have. Now, on giving answers, you must cite from at least one of the class sources. Feel free to cite to my lecture slides, but if you're simply stating the class source, you have to go to the class source. Don't cite to my lecture where I'm talking about mythical man. Go straight to mythical man. You feel free to use any omitted chapters out of Mythical Man Month or Accelerate if you feel they're relevant. Formal citation varies, we'll talk about that, but to your question, must be sufficient to identify specifically what you're relying on. Basic score for a brief correct answer and an appropriate citation is 80%, 4 out of 5 points. This is where we separate the B's from the A's. If you want an A, you're going to have to put some real thought and detail into your answer. I'll show you what that means in a second. So here's a sample question. This one will not be on the test. I've attempted to put it on there, but then all you'd have to do is look at the slides and then copy the answers from the other person. But this is what most of the questions are like. A scenario. You're part of a team at Midco working on developing from scratch custom accounting software. It's 2 months behind schedule. Medical management all agree it absolutely must be on place on time. For that end, they're implementing the following changes. By the way, I've seen all of these in real life. The development staff will be doubled in size. All developers were required to put in 20 hours overtime a week. All developers must be at the office at 8 a.m. each morning for a mandatory 1-hour staff meeting. The scheduled time allotted to testing will be cut in half. And all year-end bonuses will be canceled if the project isn't on time. For up to 5 points each, explain why each of the 5 proposals will not help, giving at least 1 citation each. I suspect all of you could answer these questions right here pretty easily. I think the reason I don't keep using this is because this is painfully true. One of the ironies was that right after I gave the midterm where this appeared as a question, my daughter Crystal came down to talk to the class a week or 2 later, and they had a change in upper management who now was saying all developers had to be in office at 8 in the morning. It's like, I just put that up as a bad example in my class. Luckily they changed that. So this is what the sample question looks like. Now, don't panic. This is a little verbose, but this is an A-level answer. So, problem, adding more staff to late project doesn't help. Got an explanation here. Here's a citation, adding manpower to late project makes it later, chapter 2, myth amendment. 2, overtime can be useful in short sprints, but over a long period of time it will not help. Citation out of peopleware. 3, meetings that should be are necessary and useful, but it's important that you really need the meeting, so on and so forth. 4 and 5. That's an actual full. I will tell you, I have given full level for shorter answers than this. But I expect at least, if you want an A, I expect at least a couple of good explanatory sentences in there, yes.
So a B.
Let me show you. That's the next slide, right? Sitting here thinking I should have had the next slide next. Okay. Very given answer. No answer, 0 points. Inappropriate answer and or irrelevant citation, 1 or maybe even 2 points. Unspecific citation, Brooks, chapter 2, if that's your entire answer. Or correct explanation with no citation or wrong citation, Brooks law, 3 points. You can get a C with this level of answer. Here's a 4-point answer. Adding people to a late project makes it later, Brooks law, Myth Commandment, chapter 2. So that's a B. That's a B level answer. Here's an A level answer right here. And you're basically explaining what the issue is, why this is true, and your citations. This may seem a little long compared to that, and you can get what you pay for, but my experience is I get a lot of these answers. I get a lot of great answers. In fact, I get enough great answers that I reserve the right to give extra credit points for really great answers. So if I were doing it, if I were grading these answers, there's a good chance there'd be 1 or 2 extra credit points besides getting full credit for all of those. It's kind of like, yeah, this is someone who really knows her or his stuff, is giving a great answer. So, now, let me say this, and I will say it 3 times because this is a problem that comes up every semester. Here's an important point of taking this test. When you are composing your answers, write them in a local text file and then copy and paste. Write them in a local text file and then copy and paste. Write them in a local text file and then copy and paste. Every semester, I have a few students who are halfway through the test and something goes wrong with their connection with Learning Suite and they lose all the work they've done. Okay, don't be that student. Don't be the one calling me at 9 p.m. on Monday night saying, yeah, it crashed and I lost everything. Answering the questions, just open Notepad, Note, whatever you use, Ultra Edit, whatever your standard plain text editor is. Write your answers there. Save that one frequently, because you never know when your computer's going to crash. And then when you go to answer on Learning Suite, copy and paste. Make sure it's all in there. I think that may be the last slide there. Yeah, that is. Any questions? Now, keep in mind the average grade on the midterm last semester was, I think, like 91%. The scenarios I present, the questions I ask will all be stuff that you've covered in class, in your readings. If you've been keeping up on those, you're going to say, oh yeah, I know what this is, or at least I know where to go find it. Or you'll start looking through chapter 18, Mythical Man Month, or through Webster number 7 readings, and say, that sounds good. And I'll tell you right now, frankly, my favorite part of teaching the whole class is grading the midterm. Because A, almost everyone gets an A. And B, I look and say, my work here is done. They are ready to go out into the real world. Because I guarantee, a lot of you have already faced these situations already, but I guarantee you that as you go out in industry, you're going to recognize these situations. I actually just had one of my students from 2 years ago send me an email and say, and this is the sort of thing you look for as a teacher, say, thank you for the class. It was the single most useful computer science class I had at BYU, and everything you said is true. He says, is there some way I can go back and review those materials? And back then, the website was actually on a different server, so I gave him the new URL and said, hey, here's the new URL, here's all the readings. All my lectures are there on video, all my slides, and he said, that looks great, thanks. Trust me that this is stuff that you will, as you know, a lot of you have already, but as you get out there, you're going to say, yeah, Webster really was right. It's true, all of it, force and everything. Any other questions at this point? Yes?
Have you considered writing a book about all this?
I actually have. I've considered a couple things. I've considered taking all the, I've written a couple books. I've written The Art of Where, I've written Pitfalls of Observatory Development. I have this book that theoretically I've been working on for about 25 years called Surviving Complexity. The fact that it's been 25 years tells you how serious I've been about actually writing it. I've considered as something shorter taking all the readings, all my various posts and so on, the readings that you have here, and organizing them into a book and simply having that as a free PDF for the students here so that you don't have to necessarily go to the website. I can update some stuff. I just have to sort of get off my butt and do it. The problem, as you'll discover, is that most people in the industry don't read. I really don't have much new to say. It's why you're reading these books that were originally written 30 to 40 years ago. They just don't read what's already out there. And I've got, if you go through the extra credit, the books I have listed for extra credit, those are all outstanding books. Read them, you'll nod your head and say, oh yeah, I see that, I understand that. And for whatever reason, the industry just doesn't believe it applies to them. Any other questions? Oh, yes.
You reminded me of my other question. The extra credit, is it due at the end of the semester, so after the midterm?
Yeah, if you have it done by the last day of class, which is this 15th? I think it's 15th, April 15th is the last day of class. Whatever the last official day of class is this semester, before finals start. Haven't read it. Any of the books on the list, on the website, you can just read and tell me you read it and let me know what interesting thing you learned from it. If you have another book you'd like to read, just ask me first and let me give it approval before you read it. That's it. See y'all in a week. Get those projects done. Demos next week.